following presentation is an Delmarva Studios production.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Flat Earth Files. I'm your host, as always, George. Welcome back, all the truth seekers. Hope everyone had a tremendous weekend. I'll tell you what, today was the nicest weather day that we have had in a long, long time. I think it was mid to high 50s. Got to go down to Lowe's. We were outside all day messing with the chickens and cutting some wood. We're really prepping for the spring already. You know, we're only about 6 weeks out from springtime officially being here. So this weekend we ordered our meat chickens, which, by the way, if this is something that you do or are considering doing, I will tell you on the meat bird side that many of them are booked out as far as the middle to the end of May. There is a type of bird called Cornish crosses, which we call here in our family Franken chickens, because they're engineered to grow very quickly. We didn't know better the first time, and they grow so fast their legs can't even handle their weight. We never did them again. But the ones we get, they go anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks when they're ready to be butchered, and we take them down again to our Amish friends. But just in case you are considering getting meat chickens this year, make sure whatever you source you get them from. Where we get ours, they're booked out very far. And if you didn't see the news, I believe in Connecticut this weekend, they had another chicken hatchery, or I think it was actually an egg production site in Connecticut. And I want to say like 100,000 hens were killed in the fire. It's just, this thing has been going on for the last year plus, with whether it being these food production sites here in the States or these chicken sites. You know, recently we had one, I don't know how recent it was, maybe it's been 2 or 3 months, but Minnesota, that was the big one that really caused the egg prices to explode. Now, with this one over the weekend happening, I'm guessing that if you live in the Northeast, be prepared to see even higher egg prices. We're really blessed with our egg layers. We got 16 today. Now, the nicer the weather, the more apt you are to get more eggs. There's a lot of stories floating around out there about the feed from Tractor Supply, and there's a lot of people around the country who's saying that they get their chicken feed. I know this is the Flat Earth Files, but I know there's a lot of folks that are like-minded in Homestead and etc. I just wanted to share this information really briefly with everyone, and we'll jump into the program. But if you're not aware, a lot of people are saying that they get their feed from Tractor Supply, and their eggs stopped laying completely. One of my listeners sent me a video I hadn't even seen. This guy had 40-some chickens, and he went from getting, 30 a day to 1 a day if he was lucky. And he started going to a traditional, you can make your own chicken feed. There's recipes for it all over the place, just random seeds, grains, etc. And they went right back to laying eggs. So we haven't been to Tractor Supply for a long time. They're one of those very woke organizations. They funded the Drag Queen Storytime in Austin, Texas. And listen, I know I'm going to get some hate emails because there's some people out there who love their Tractor Supply. But if you look, they are a woke organization, and they're a part of this new. They're part of the club. That's all I can say. It'll probably upset some people, but that's the fact. You can go on their website. You'll see all the diversity statements, and they're a completely woke organization. And that's what happens when these, family organizations get bought up by BlackRock and Vanguard, right? That's the problem. One of the very few things our government is supposed to be doing is ensuring that monopolies don't occur. And if you look across the board, everything in this country is a monopoly, whether it be big tech, the banking industry and corporations have repeatedly been bought out. And now even farms and these type of things, your food supply, which should scare the heck out of you. Okay. So anyway, really nice day today. We had a busy weekend, a lot of things outside, but reality is hitting us again tomorrow. Snow's coming, cold, rain. You know, the normal winter production will resume tomorrow. So again, hope everybody had a great weekend. And I hope you all have a great week again. If you'd like to reach out and say hello to us, as so many others have, email us. It is theflatearthfiles@gmail.com, theflatearthfiles@gmail.com. And listen, after every show, go to that show description on no matter what platform you listen, whether it's Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, Spreaker, and look at all the information I leave you. The email address is there, and we're going to have some videos today for you as well to check out. Always some great information. Knowledge is not any good if you don't share it, and that's what we aim to do here. I would love to have more people come on here and just have a simple conversation with me. I'm always intrigued about people's waking up process and how they came upon flat earth and what they think about it, and you know what made them put them over the edge with it. Yeah, it's flat, or that's what I'm really looking forward to. And we do have another conversation coming up on February the 8th. That is the next scheduled conversation with one of our listeners. So there you go. Let's get into the emails. We have a few to get to. This isn't going to be a very long podcast, I don't think, but every time I say that, it still seems to always go about an hour, but we'll see what happens. Our first email comes to us from Chris, and thank you, Chris, for your email. It says, hello. I've listened to all your podcast episodes and am very interested. I wouldn't call myself a flat earther nor religious, but was curious what you think about Mark Sargent or Flat Earth Dave and some of the personalities in the community. It says, thank you again. I'm enjoying the show. Also, thanks for your service. Thank you, Chris, for your email. Very much greatly appreciated. These, I will tell you, you're never going to hear me really talking bad about other people because I've never met them in person. And I've said a few times that, like Bill Cooper says, listen to everyone. Because even the people who may be controlled, they're going to give you some information that you may take away to help you connect another dot. As far as Mark Sargent goes, he's one of the OGs. We've spoken to him a few times. Obviously, Eric DeBay, we just did his series. But Flat Earth Dave, I will tell you, I have met, when I say met, over the internet twice. Once we did a video face-to-face, and the other time, 2.5 years ago, we had a little audio conversation for about an hour. And, I've said before, he was one of the ones who reached out to me early. And, he was smart. I always say when people say, how do you wake someone up? He just sent an email and left some links. And he left it up for me to go back and click that link. And the first one was intriguing enough to where I clicked on the second link, and then the next thing you know, I've gone 2 weeks without any sleep. So I have much respect for Flat Earth Dave. I know some people say all he does is sell his app. Well, I will tell you, listen, my wife has his app. She loves the app. She watches the daily video. She has bought that app for her family friends and my sister. And when she's at work, she shows her my wife, who she doesn't have a podcast or anything. She's just, she's very passionate about this subject, and she is not afraid to show her friends. If the subject comes up, she will show her the app. That app is very, very handy. It's got a lot of, and I'm not here to sell Dave's app. I don't get 10% or anything like that. I think it's okay if somebody in the truth community is able to make a few bucks or help fund their mission. There's a lot of things, not just this podcast, but my other one that I would love to do. I would love to raise enough money to spend a couple days in Oklahoma City on April 19th on the anniversary of Oklahoma City, and speak the truth about Terrence Yakey. You got our friend, I feel so terrible now. What's his name? Jeremy Brown. His sentencing is in about 6 weeks or so. I'd love to drive to Florida and be there to support him for that. There's a lot of things, but the reality is, we homestead and everything is expensive now. Luckily, we're sitting on a pile of gold, aka eggs. Just kidding. But it's okay for somebody to make a few bucks, not even make a few bucks. I look at it as helping to support the mission show. So, excuse me. Russian Vids, RV Truth, is somebody who I've enjoyed his videos as well. Levi, I think his name is John Levi. He does a good job too. But you might want to put his videos on like 1.5 speed because he talks very slow. But he's got a huge following, and he's a good dude. He really is. So I'm not going to call out anybody. I want everybody to listen to everyone and let them discern for themselves who they believe in. And you guys should trouble check me too. And don't take everything I say as gospel. Much of what I say is an opinion or a belief. And remember, was it Jordan Peterson broke down the English language so well. Within the word belief is also the word lie. So just, whether you're listening to my podcast or anyone else, if it resonates with you, then investigate it, check it out, and discern for yourself. You'll never really hear me saying, don't listen to this guy or listen to that guy as well. So, Chris, thank you very much, brother, for the email. It is greatly appreciated. By the way, if I just said Jordan Peterson, I meant Jordan Maxwell, and it's the Admiralty Law Word, Controlled Humans, and the Law of Money speech. It's 14 minutes long. As a matter of fact, if you're interested, I'll play at the end of this podcast. I'll throw it in there. It's only 14 minutes long. If you're interested, check it out. If not, you can bounce out. But I enjoy it very much. Back to the emails. And we actually just got an email while I'm reading these. Okay, so here we go. This is a very similar email. This is from Max. It says, I just found your show, and I'm really enjoying it. I've been a flat earther for about a year now after watching a video on YouTube that woke me up instantly. I came across this debate between David Weiss, who we just mentioned in the last email, and Professor Dave. Professor Dave is so smug and annoying, it's more or less unwatchable. And I have seen that video. I know precisely which one you're talking about. Max, question is, have you seen this video, and do you think Professor Dave is a paid shill? I don't know if he's a paid shill. I think Professor Dave is one of those people who thinks he's smarter than everyone else. And everyone can go to YouTube and check out, just put in David Weiss, Professor Dave, and I will tell you, I've seen many instances in which people have invited David Weiss, not Professor Dave, but they've invited David Weiss, Flat Earth Dave, on their podcast, and they treat him terribly. Listen, you invite somebody on your podcast, they're your guest. It's one thing to disagree with someone. I've had tons of guests in the last several years, whether it be this podcast or another podcast, who I have disagreed on vehemently on many issues, but I don't treat them bad. I'll tell them I disagree with them, and I'll give them a counterpoint. But David Weiss, and I'll tell you, now listen, sometimes we all get upset, and he prefers to go on podcasts that go against the flat earth so he can try to wake people up. And it is more interesting when you go, I've seen some of his videos where he goes on, these people are globers, and by the time the podcast is over, they're flat earthers. That's very interesting. But to simply treat somebody like that, especially when you invite them on, they're your guest, is it's terrible. I would never, ever, ever treat a guest like that. So yeah, he asked, does he think Professor Dave is a paid shill? If you put Flat Earth in YouTube, his videos are everywhere. How panicky do you think the establishment, NWO, Deep State are about the masses waking up to Flat Earth? I do think they are. Again, you go back to COVID, they overplayed their hand with the old jabba dabba doo. and people are awake. They see what it's doing. And a lot of people say they're going to come back and try this again in 2025, 2026. I think there's a reason they only do it every 100 years. I think they do. It's a multi-generational thing. They tried it back in the early 1900s with the Spanish flu. They tried with the swine flu in 76, where all those people, God bless them, got very sick, died, and were wheelchair bound for the rest of their lives with that mess. With Gerald Ford, what a disgrace. But I think they are panicking a little bit, and that's one of the reasons, sadly, and again, I'm not trying to go off topic of Flat Earth, but if you pay attention to the right news agencies, you'll understand that Albert Pike, what he said, the 3 world wars and what's going on with Iran and Israel, and Ukraine and Russia teetering on a powder keg, and we continue to stoke the fire, to be quite frank, that the easiest way to interrupt a conversation between the masses is to do something like, start a war. I do think they're panicking. If you don't know, here in the States, the CDC, I believe the CDC, maybe the World Health Organization, just said COVID's still not over. Now, for the states, the emergency declaration runs through March. So it's quite obvious they're going to take what Tedros said today, what a weirdo that guy is, from the World Health Organization, and they will extend the COVID emergency and continue their draconian rule over us. So that's what that's all about. So indeed, paid shill, I don't know, maybe. I don't know the guy, never met him. I've seen him on the videos. He's very smug, like you said. Just not somebody I'd like to have a beer with whatsoever. But yeah, I do think the deep state is panicking a little bit. They're losing their narrative and they're losing control. And to be quite frank with you, I'm still surprised that we still have this platform. I got a message from YouTube the other day, a video I did in the spring of 2021. So we're talking almost 2 years ago, got a strike. I haven't posted anything on YouTube since almost a year now, just because I put it up and instantly gets taken down. So I get a message, this video from 2021 gets a strike. It's just a joke. That's why I don't mess with YouTube anymore. So if you've never seen Professor Dave, again, like Max said, just go to YouTube. You can put in David Weiss, Professor Dave, and this guy is very, very annoying. One of those, I'm smarter than you guys, and because he's got a degree hanging on his wall, he knows more than you do. So there you go. Michael sent me a video which will be in the show description. I don't want to say much on it because I don't want you to have a predetermined thought before you watch this video. It's about 8 minutes long. It's from Myrtle Beach. It's the Falcon Heavy launch that is seen from Myrtle Beach on January 15th, 2023. Check out that video. It's about 8.5 minutes long. And it's funny. The first thing I do when I watch these videos is I go down into the comments section, and there's people that say, this proves flat Earth. And one person says, this proves the globe. One person says, you can tell it hit the firmament, or hit the dome, I think is exactly how he worded it. So you'll see a link to the Falcon Heavy launch in the show description. Check that out and send me an email and tell us what you think, and we'll spread the word to the masses on the next episode. And again, that is from Michael. Thanks for sharing that with us. The next email comes from Chad. And Chad is replying to Homeschool Mama. He says, I would imagine publishing books with a flat earth curriculum would not be allowed, since most publishing companies are owned by those that want the deception. Now, this is very interesting because quite some time ago, I did a podcast on higher education, particularly Pearson and McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill Publishing in the late 80s formed a joint partnership with Robert Maxwell, Okay, so McGraw-Hill, America's second largest textbook publisher, partnered up with Robert Maxwell. And if that name doesn't mean anything to you, he has a daughter named Ghislaine Maxwell. He named his boat after his daughter, Ghislaine. And if you don't know about his death, let me see if I can pull it up here. Oops. Real time here, so give me a second. Yeah, his death was under very nefarious circumstances. November 4th, 1991, he had an argumentative phone call with his son Kevin over a meeting with the Bank of England. He was on default of £50 million. And he missed the meeting, and last contact was the next day, November 5th. He was found to be missing, and his naked body was recovered in the Atlantic Ocean. So he was taken out. And a Jewish family, very much a big name in Israel. And of course, by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell is not in prison. That latest video of her, that's a green screen behind her. It's so obvious. It's quite obvious. The people who are in that level, she's obviously a CIA asset. These people are used to bribe politicians, so they do as they're told. But these people are owned by the global elite, and they push their agenda. Now, if you wanted to, there are certain publisher, I assume maybe Rose Publishing would do it, and then the co-founder of Speak Free Radio, he has a publishing house down in Florida. He may publish some books if somebody wanted to, get together a small startup, raise some capital, and publish some books. You could self-publish, obviously, but trying, like Chad said, agreed, you're not going to get any of the major publishers like Pearson or McGraw-Hill or Scholastic or any of those guys to publish anything, certainly with Flat Earth in it, like Chad says, a.k.a. Reverend Killjoy, that they are part of the deception. Our next email comes from Bernard. Hello, Bernard. I could write a book, but I won't. Glad I found your podcast so far, and I have enjoyed it. I am also a Baptist pastor. That's awesome. I believe we both began our awakening the same way, September 11th. That was a literal eye-opener, which led to the fake moon landing, Oklahoma City bombings, on and on and on. Yeah, exactly. Once there's always a crossover in these videos or in these books you read, and that leads you to the next rabbit hole. And sooner than later, you realize everything is a lie. Back to the email. And like you constantly say, what else are they lying about? Back to Flat Earth. I would say the physics of water is the most obvious proof of a flat plane. Great point. Gravity doesn't prevent rivers, streams, or waterfalls from flowing, so why would it cause oceans to cease their natural inclination to flow as the oceans curve around our supposed globe Earth? Lakes are level, and oceans are nothing more than gigantic lakes. Anyway, I hope you can interview some interesting guests. Hopefully we'll hear from Mr. Sabrell soon. It says, grace to you, my brother, from Bernard. Thank you, Bernard, so much for that really great email. Thank you very much. And water always finds its level, doesn't it? And I think we already addressed Jessica's email, so I think I'm all caught up on the emails. If I missed one, feel free to email me back. Say, hey, knucklehead, you missed my email. Just a couple things I wanted to touch on today, if I may. I want to talk about, and many of you already know this, the manipulation of search engines. I took 3 different search engines, and I simply put in Flat Earth and kind of went to the news section. And the first one is pretty interesting. Of course, we went to Google first, and we put in Flat Earth. And the very first result out of over 9 million results, NASA's Perseverance rover completes Mars sample depot. So they are still, to this day, pretending that we are on Mars. Now, many flat earthers have believed for a long time that NASA's videos and images come from Greenland. And there's many articles. Just one example from News Pumps. A NASA video purporting to show the surface of Mars has been exposed as a fraud, as experts have revealed that NASA's Mars Curiosity rover was actually filmed in Greenland, fooling millions who believe they were watching footage from the Red Planet. Of course, NASA and everyone else have defended it, but if you really want to do some research into this, put in NASA Devon Island, which is the little place in Greenland where many of these have been filmed. And if I can find the link, they literally put in it. Let me see if I can find it in the images. Yes, Mars versus Greenland, pictures side by side of Devon Island, and all they did was tint the colors. I will put this link for you to see as well in the search description. I mean, it's not even close, but they continue to mess with us. And Smithsonian comes up next. 10 dazzling celestial events to see in 2023. And then CNN. This is very interesting to me. I'm a numerology guy. This story was from March 3rd. That's 33. That's a sign to me. Here's why some people still believe the earth is flat. Let's read this. Let's take a second and read this. Flat earth videos rack up huge views on the internet, but how could anyone believe such a fundamentally false idea? Daily Beast reporter Kelly Whale joins John Avlon on this week's Reality Check to discuss her new book and explain how social media has given an old conspiracy theory a huge boost. We should, let's take a minute and listen to it, see if this is a worthwhile listen. All right, let's see what the enemy are saying about us. Let's see what CNN, the CIA News Network is saying.
Hey all, I'm John Avlon, and this is Reality Check on the Extremist Beat. The Flat Earth Society.
Wait a second, did he just say the extremist beat? Are we now extremist? And once again, I want to point out, I'll do my best not to interrupt this audio. But the first thing he said, the Flat Earth Society. Again, the Flat Earth Society is controlled opposition. I don't talk much about shills and things like that, as I said previously to our emailer. But the Flat Earth Society is without a doubt controlled. There are some people in there who are on the right track when you look at the little comments and things like that, but their version of gravity and the disk floating upward is a joke. So again, he's on the extremist path. Wow, let's see what this guy has to say.
The name itself is a punchline, right? I'm talking about those truly committed conspiracy theorists who still believe, against literally all evidence, that the world is not round, but flat.
Daredevil Mad Mike Hughes is dead after he attempted to launch his homemade rocket Saturday. He eventually wanted to go into near orbit in his quest to prove his theory that the Earth is flat.
Now we could talk about Copernicus or Columbus, the Arc of the Sun, space travel, or transnational flights that circumnavigate the globe every day. But no, these folks would still insist that the world is flat. And that itself offers real insights, actually, into the endurance of conspiracy theories and why some people so stubbornly cling to them. That's the subject of a great new book called Off the Edge: Flat Earthers, Conspiracy Culture, and Why People Will Believe Anything.
Now, this is very interesting. Her book is entitled Off the Edge, and we know that there is an ice wall and there is a dome. They want you to believe that we believe, right? They want the normies to believe that we believe if you go too far, you'll fall off the edge of the earth. Again, they're talking about the Flat Earth Society. This is all controlled opposition, and they continue to manipulate people's minds. And I will say, if there's somebody out there that still listens to CNN, God bless them. My goodness.
The author is Kelly Weil, reporter on the extremism and internet beat at my old site, The Daily Beast, and it is great to welcome her to Reality Check. Where did the modern incarnation of this very, very old idea get started?
Modern flat earth theory really emerged around the mid-1800s. It was really one guy's fault. He was a quack doctor, a conspiracy theorist, who started promoting flat earth theory based on his observations on a long, straight canal, which he said looked perfectly flat, and therefore, to his eye, the rest of the world should be flat too. People wanted a simpler answer than ideas that might have been frightening. So
it's important that I point out that I'm going to put this link in the show description as well. She has a globe sitting right behind her. There's a lot of mockery in the background.
Flat earth theory took on this central role for people who wanted to discard emerging scientific thought, and unfortunately, it's stuck around since then.
We don't think the world's flat. We know that the world is flat because it is a law, actually. It's a law of physics, a law of God, a law of nature.
Charles Johnson is the president of the International Flat Earth Research Society. Its membership contains some 2,800 people who firmly believe the Earth is indeed flat.
I remember this from when I was reporting on the Extremist Beat and writing Wingnuts. There are always conspiracy entrepreneurs. Usually there's a partisan racket. It's right-wing talk TV, radio, blogs, podcasts. But what are the financial incentives off the Flat Earth Society? Who's making money off this?
So the Flat Earth universe right now is so much bigger even than the Flat Earth Society. The internet has really democratized conspiracy theories and made it so that anybody can start their own YouTube channel, their own podcast. Conspiracy videos are very, very lucrative online. They're so scintillating. If I see a video on YouTube with a crazy headline, something about flat Earth, even though I don't believe in flat Earth, I'm pretty tempted to click on that. So because these videos overperform on social media, they often get artificially boosted by social media sites' algorithms. And a lot of very savvy people on YouTube, on Facebook, picked up on that and they said, okay, I'm going to make the flat Earth video because I know that's going to bring me money. So there is a whole shadow ecosystem to how people are engaging with flat Earth, not necessarily because they believe in it. Some people do. Some people are a little bit more cynical. And these people are realizing that if you make conspiracy content, you're probably going to get some profit.
Wow, we're halfway through this video. Let's break a few things down. Number one, conspiracy theorists get wealthy off of our videos. Nothing could be further from the truth. There are very few people who are very careful about how they navigate and they're able to get around it. People like Dave, he goes on other people's podcasts. And if you want to talk about an algorithm, when you go to YouTube and you pull it in flat Earth, you will get the ones that go against the actual theory. It's making fun of us and mocking us. You're not going to get David Weiss. Let me check myself because it's been a while since I've actually, let me check YouTube. We're going to YouTube right now and I'm simply going to type in, you know what? I need to go out of mine. I don't want it to track my algorithms. I want to go in as just like a regular Joe under this account, nothing to do with it. And we're going to go to YouTube and what is this doing? Switch. Oh, I was in the wrong place. Okay, here we go. So under this account that has nothing to do with conspiracies or anything, I'm going to type in flat Earth. I don't know if this is making for great radio or not, but we'll see what happens. Mr. Beast, 27 million views. Flat Earth proven by independent research. Then there's ABC News. Inside a Flat Earth convention where nearly everyone believed the Earth isn't round. So that is a mockery. The third one is from CNN. Why some people still believe the Earth is flat. And that is the video that we're watching right now on CNN is actually number 3 on YouTube. Number 4, destroying flat Earth without using science. Number 5 worst arguments in flat Earth debate. Then, of course, There's the Rocket Man, which they talked about. That CBS man launches himself into, his little rocket, killing himself, trying to prove flat Earth theory. So they want to make it out that all these people who believe in flat Earth is whack job. So I just proved, and you can try it yourself, that everything that this young lady right here, Kelly Weil, is a complete fraud, and she'll herself, who is on here to sell books. Imagine that. She's calling out people who make YouTube videos, saying these people are making a buck off their videos while she's up here trying to shill her book. Back to the second half of this video.
That is such an important and, in retrospect, obvious point. It's the algorithms. This is yet another example of the algorithms creating a perverse incentive structure that leads to totally absurd places, promoting cults and conspiracy theories.
That's true. And to you...
Excuse, did he just say cults and conspiracy theories? Let's listen again.
Another example of the algorithms creating a perverse incentive structure that leads to totally absurd places, promoting cults and conspiracy theories.
He said cults and conspiracy theories. So here in 2023, is so crazy that if you don't believe everything the man on TV says, CNN of all places, you're part of a cult and a, quote, conspiracy theory, which again was a little phrase they developed in 1963 for all those Looney Tunes who dared question that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only shooter. He was solely responsible for the murder of JFK. And just within the last 60 days, the CIA has officially come out and admitted they were behind it, not Lee Harvey Oswald. All right, now I'll shut up and get back to this.
That's true. And to YouTube's credit, they have, I think 2019, they started tinkering with the algorithm to delist flat Earth videos. They realized we've got a real problem here. And now it's harder to find them. It's harder to accidentally stumble upon them. But to that end, I would say that the genie was already out of the bottle. These videos were everywhere for 5 years before they tamped down on that algorithm. So yeah, it's very hard to decouple the success of this conspiracy theory from the big tech companies that willingly or not made it really profitable.
I get that in cults and conspiracy theories, particularly in the online era, the community is self-reinforcing, especially when people feel rejected by the rest of society for their beliefs. But what's the appeal of this particular conspiracy theory? Why flat Earth for these folks?
I think for flat Earth, it offers a whole vision of the universe. Another theory like QAnon or chemtrails, well, that's just a little part of a conspiracy universe. It sort of fits alongside the accepted reality that most of us share. Flat Earth is almost like a religion in its totality. If you believe it, then you have a whole new worldview. And alongside that, you have a whole new set of friends and people who share your ideas. When you buy into Flat Earth, it brings you into this community.
Your reporting also shows...
By the way, what's wrong with that? You know how many friends I've met since... Isn't it cool to hang around with like-minded people? I mean, obviously, you don't want everyone... You like to have differences with people. You know, if everybody liked the same thing, we'd have a boring world. But isn't it cool? Don't we like to hang around like-minded people? Isn't that natural? These people are off the reservation. My goodness gracious, it's been a minute since I've listened to anything from CNN. And this is, this is straight from the CIA and the globalists. I hate using that word, the globalists, but, the controllers, the Illuminati, the people at the very top pulling the puppet strings.
This troubling overlap between the far right and the flat earthers. Explain. How did that work?
So there's no inherent reason there should be so many flat Earth Nazis, and yet there are a lot of flat Earth Nazis.
Flat Earth Nazis?
Yeah. We're talking fringe of the fringe. I think conspiracy theories are very powerful in political extremist movements because they are looking for alternative explanations. They're looking for often scapegoats for why they feel disempowered, why they feel angry.
I got to say, I didn't see flat Earth Nazis coming. I didn't. I want to end this on a hopeful note, as I am.
Before we end it on a hopeful note, do you feel like you've been slapped in the face yet? You've been called Nazis. You've been called extremists for simply having a belief that does not go along with the narrative.
To do and look at some useful solutions, particularly when you've interviewed folks who've left the Flat Earth Society. What was it that ultimately convinced them? Because it really could offer folks some tips about getting people out of cults overall, and God knows we need that right now.
One thing that came up again and again, talking to ex-Flat Earthers and also people who help others leave cults, was that you have to do it with empathy. I know sometimes that can be really hard because Flat Earth seems like an easy punchline, or sometimes it can be hard because someone believes in a conspiracy theory that's morally reprehensible to you, like QAnon is to me. But offering someone empathetic conversation about why they believe what they do and why those beliefs might be false, and then giving them a safe place to land when they exit the conspiracy theory. I've spoken to so many conspiracy theorists who are worried about what happens when they try to go back to the friends and family they alienated. Will those people make fun of them? Will they point and laugh and say you were wrong? And I think the most helpful thing that you can do is welcome people back. And
what did she just say? Like, if your family alienated you because you have a belief about the flat earth, that's terrible. We may get mocked. I always joke about there's no quicker way to lose the respect of your friends and family is to come out as a flat earther. They don't alienate you. My God, I don't want to get too much into my family issues, but anyway, I got to hear this one more time.
When they exit the conspiracy theory, I've spoken to so many conspiracy theorists who are worried about what happens when they try to go back to the friends and family they alienated. Will those people make fun of them? Will they point and laugh and say you were wrong? And I think the most helpful thing that you can do is welcome people back and bring them back to reality gently. Give them a safe landing place.
Such an important point. And as you say, it's completely consistent with what we've learned from talking to people who've left cults, from people who focus on this, the empathy, the understanding, the safe landing, the safe harbor, if you will. Kelly Weil, congrats on the book. It's great to see you. It's great to have you on Reality.
Congrats on the book, even though you've just spent the last 8 minutes going off on people getting rich on YouTube videos. My butler, Charles, is in here bringing me my fresh coffee. Charles, I said 2 sugars, dang it. Can't get good help around here, I tell you. That was hard to listen to, friends. We've been told that we're extremists. Here I am, 53 years old, in the country, in the rural Delaware, raising chickens, homeschooling, and I believe that we are on a flat plane. I, apparently, according to the CIA News Network, am an extremist. That's where we're at in 2023. And I'll tell you, folks, as much as I've kind of, made humor of this last video, a little bit of jest, being a little facetious, that should scare us just a little bit. And I know most of you are saying, well, it shouldn't surprise you at CNN. However, there's a lot of people in this country that believe exactly that if you don't believe in the science, if you don't believe in vaccines, and if you don't believe that we are on a globe spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, hurtling through space at 66,600 miles per hour on an axis of 23.4 degrees, and water can curve, well, you brother and sisters are extremists. You're cultists. Should worry you just a little bit. Again, you want to go back and watch this tremendous interview on CNN. It'll be in the show description. Wanted to end one last note. Hopefully with all these windows I opened up, just wanted to give you a heads up. Again, when I was talking about when you go on the various search engines, Yandex was the one where when I put in flat earth, you actually got some decent flat earth articles. So again, I don't tell anybody what to do. DuckDuckGo is not a good alternative that I have found personally. I use Yandex. That's just me. But there is a story going around. If I can find it, let me just do that. Okay, it was right in front of me. I just have 300 tabs open. One of the top stories on Google. This came out just 6 days ago. NASA and DARPA will test nuclear engine for future Mars mission. And man, you got to love that NASA logo, don't you? With the serpent's tongue. Yeah, that's completely normal. NASA and DARPA, which I'm going to talk about in a minute before we get to the Jordan Maxwell audio, announced Tuesday a collaboration to demonstrate a nuclear thermal rocket engine in space and enabling capability for NASA crewed missions to Mars. NASA and DARPA will partner on the demonstration rocket for agile cislunar operations, or check this out, guys, the DRACO program. You can't make this stuff up. DRACO. Oh my gosh. The non-reimbursable agreement. The non-reimbursable agreement. Somebody's getting paid, guys. Designed to benefit both agencies, outlines roles, responsibilities, and processes aimed at speeding up the development efforts. Now, you can go back to every president since the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, the Bushes, the Clintons. Clinton, during my presidency, we will return to the moon. And in the next 20 years, we will go to Mars. And every president says the same thing. And the can keeps getting kicked down the road. If there's a manned mission to Mars, it will be very much like Capricorn 1, like the fake space landing on the moon, July 20th, 1969, the 201st day of the year, like Event 201. Jesuits love that number, don't they? But again, this is a non-reimbursable agreement. People are getting paid whether this works or not. Again, this is money laundering a la what's going on in Ukraine today. Now, DARPA, if you did not know, DARPA is... we call Facebook DARPA book. That's where the internet started. These people like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, they're all actors on the stage, and they're given stories. Bezos, he started Amazon in his garage. Bill Gates, his story. They're all stories. These people are put to represent players on the world stage, but DARPA is behind most of everything, whether it be the internet or even, you go back to The Economist. They called DARPA the agency that shaped the modern world and pointed out that Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine sits alongside weather satellites, GPS, drones, technology, stealth technology, and the personal computer on the list of innovations for which DARPA can at least claim partial credit. I've done podcasts on DARPA. We've talked about DARPA many times. They're a very dark agency that carries out, the acts of the globalist leaders, of the hidden hands, and they have technology certainly, 20 years ahead of our time. They probably had Wi-Fi back in the 80s, and it's released a little bit of time. They come up with this stuff. They create it. They create the people that say they're behind it, and they release it, and they make a fortune off of it. And that's a fact. DARPA is very dark agency. Very much we're behind the vaccines. And again, I'm not going to stray off the beaten path too much, but that's something to definitely take your time. If you haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet, go check out DARPA. Isn't that crazy? DRACO, the new program. We'll put that link in the show description as well. Make sure you check out that show description. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. I am going to play I really enjoy this from Jordan Maxwell. It's the Admiralty Law Word, Controlled Humans and the Law of Money. It's a very popular audio clip that has been played for many, 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 many years. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening again. Please reach out to us, theflatearthfiles@gmail.com, which you can find in the show description as well. Thanks for listening. Thank you all for your emails. Thanks for the downloads. We're already over 10,000 downloads in less than, 2 months. So there's a lot more people that are, who think like we do. We just got to start opening our minds and our thoughts a little bit more. And you'll be surprised, just like many of the emailers, like the gentleman in England getting a haircut, he brought it up, and you'll be surprised how many people out there are like-minded. So God bless each and every one of you. Have a good week. We'll try to get another one out before the weekends. Get those emails in. And until next time, my friends, keep your head on a swivel, and we'll see you. Here's Jordan Maxwell.
Understanding words is what you really need to start doing. You need to start doing your homework and understanding words. If you put an S in front of words, it becomes swords. And that's what words are. They're cutting. They can cause you great trouble. Humans are word-controlled creatures. So we need to establish what words mean. Again, when we talk about law, there's a Roman maximum in law that says, "For he that would be deceived, let him." Simply meaning, if you are so ignorant as to be deceived, then that's your business, that's your problem. So you need to do your homework and find out what the words mean, especially in relation to law and government. Because there is a world of occultism that is operating today throughout the world, in which you use certain words, and when those words are used in a court, they don't mean the same thing at all. Understanding law and the words of law, there are two things that this planet has: water and earth, water and land. Consequently, there are two kinds of law: the law of the land and the law of water. You've heard the term law of the land, but in point of fact, that's precisely what this word means, law of the land, because it is the people who live on land. And that is opposed to something else called the law of the high seas, or the law of water. You need to understand the difference. The law of the land is the law of the culture that lives on the land. And so consequently, the law of the land is different in every country. You can do things in America you can't do in Russia. You can do things in Africa you can't do in England. So the law of the land is the law of the culture that lives on that particular land. However, there is a higher law that dominates the entire world. It's called the law of the water, or the law of the high seas. The law of water is referred to as the law of money. It doesn't matter what color you are, where you're from, or where you live. Money is money. And anytime you're doing banking or using money, you are now under the law of water, maritime admiralty. If you go back in history, in ancient history, where all of this began, back in the land of Canaan, and you probably have heard in the Bible, the land of Canaan. The Canaanites were Phoenician bloodline, and in the ancient Phoenician language, Cana meant merchant banker. The very word merchant comes from mer, M-E-R, for the sea, for water. As in mermaid, we have merchant. Merchant bankers. Let me give an example of the difference between the law of water and the law of the land. The law of water, as I said, is a law of banking, money, as opposed to the law of the custom of the people, or the law of the land. The Statue of Liberty must be put in water. It could not be put on American land as such. It had to be put in the harbor, because it's not the Statue of Freedom. It's a statue of liberty. Liberty is what a sailor gets when he pulls into port on a ship. He gets liberty. He's not free. So America is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. We're not free or brave. Period. We're not free. This is not a free country. Now let me give you an example of how this law of the water works. Why is it that you have to go to court? People are always concerned about going to court. You go to court because you play basketball and tennis on a court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Why? Because that's what it is. It's a racket. And make no mistake, they do not pick words by chance. These words are very serious. They do not use words in terms with no avail. These words are very important. When you go into a court, what's the idea of going to court? It's a game, like basketball. The whole idea in a court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. One team gets up and they throw the ball over to that team of lawyers. That team gets up and throws the ball back into their court. And consequently, it's a ball game. And the judge is wearing a black robe, so he is the referee. The judge is the referee. He doesn't care which side wins or loses because he's going to get paid anyway. So he couldn't care less. He's merely there as a referee, and that's why he wears a black robe. And that's another interesting subject we can get into later. But the judge is a referee between two teams. The judge, we are told, rules from the bench. The word bench in Latin is a bank. Therefore, the judge rules for the bank. Where do you find banks? You find banks on both sides of a river. They're called river banks. And what does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the current, see. The juice. Consequently, your money is currency because it's the flow, the cash flow. And I'll give you an example of how this works. When a ship pulls into a harbor, all ships are referred to as female. Airships, rocket ships, sailing ships are always female. Why? There's a very good reason. Maritime Admiralty banking law says all ships are female because they're carrying items. They're carrying items for money, and so consequently they are under Maritime Admiralty law. Admiralty is where we get the word admiral, admiral of the Navy. Let me give you an example of how this works. When a ship pulls into harbor, it parks at the dock, and it ties off at the dock. The captain has to provide for the port authorities a certificate of manifest, because yesterday the ship was not here, but this morning the ship pulled in, so it has manifested. So consequently, all the products, the $800 million worth of TVs or Toyotas, have manifested. So each one of those items coming off of that ship has come off of water. And each end they has come in a ship. And consequently, on a ship, all ships have a captain. The word captain comes from a Latin word capital, money. So the captain represents the money that's on board the ship. And as I said, the captain has to present to the port authorities a certificate of manifest for each and every item. How much does it weigh? What color is it? How many doors does it have? Etc. And consequently, the captain presents a certificate of manifest. The ship is sitting in its berth. Wherever a ship sits when it docks is called its berth. She sits in her berth, berthing a ship. Consequently, all the items, as I said, coming off that ship represent money. They came in on water. They are Maritime Admiralty product. And this is true all over the world. Now, when you were born, your mother's water broke. And when your mother's water broke, you came out. And this is why you have to have a birth certificate, because you are a Maritime Admiralty product under international law. You are considered, your body is considered a Maritime Admiralty product. Your mother delivered you. This is why if you go to Sears and buy a refrigerator, they will ship it to you. They will deliver it. And that's why you were in your delivery room. Your mother was delivering a product. Maritime Admiralty, you came down your mother's birth canal. And once you, and as you're taking one of the televisions or the cars off the ship and it falls down and breaks, that's all right. Sometimes they're stillborn, so consequently you've lost money on that one. Therefore you have to have a death certificate, and it's always signed by the doc. The doc has to sign your birth certificate and your death certificate. All of these words and terms are maritime admiralty banking words. And therefore, if you understand lawyers and judges and courts and government are all under international maritime admiralty law. All religions, all churches in the world operate under maritime law. This is why all churches are divided into denominations, like 20s and 50s and 100s. Serious. This is why they're called denominations, because all churches are nothing more than the product of maritime admiralty banking. It's an extraordinary story of occult treason, high treason and crimes against the state. Make no mistake about it. There has never been a country on the face of the earth as far back into history as you can go. There has never existed a country in which the people rose up and demanded their right to be free. Never. The concept of human, spiritual, intellectual, and physical freedom is a totally concept that has never, ever existed on the earth. The only time that has ever come into existence was the founding of this country, where it was understood that we were sovereigns and we owned our bodies, and consequently, since 1868, we're now on the International Maritime Admiralty Law. Think about this. When cowboys in Indian movies, when the cowboys would ride into town, they'd get off the horse, they were wearing guns. How come they could walk into a bar carrying guns? And if two guys got in an argument, they could go out on the street and draw on each other in front of the sheriff's office, and the sheriff would do nothing. How come? How come that men could go out in the street and shoot each other in front of everyone and had nothing be done about it? The reason why is because before 1868, all Americans were considered sovereigns. And that's one of the nice things about being a sovereign, is you have the right to be yourself. And consequently, you need to understand that, in one last point I'm going to make before I introduce your speaker, that in 1868 there was a corporation founded. Anyone can incorporate a company. Well, in 1868 there was a company incorporated. And in that particular company, the founders of that company they referred to it as the United States Corporation. And they stipulated that anybody who would be a member of that corporation or work for that corporation would be called not an employee, but a citizen. So today, if you are asked, are you a citizen of the United States, what you think you're being asked is, are you lawfully in this country to do business? That's not lawfully what's being asked. They didn't ask if you're in America lawfully. They ask you a specific question. Are you, of your own volition, out of your own mouth, testifying that you are a citizen of the United States? Because in that way, citizen of the United States means you are an employee of a foreign corporation operating on the international maritime law. So today, the President of the United States is the president of a privately owned company. The company is called United States. And the word president is always a word that is used in corporate law. Banks have presidents. All companies have presidents. So there's a corporation called United States, privately owned, and it has a president. President Bush is not the president of America. President Bush is the president of a privately owned company. Privately owned, out of England. And you need to understand words and terms. Because I believe that there is a divine presence in the universe that men call God, and one day that divine presence is going to move on the earth, and we're going to see freedom come back to this world. And when it does, you're going to need to understand words and terms and how they have been used to trick you.
There you go, everybody. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed that. Take care.
You're listening to the Fact Hunter Radio Network.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Hey, hon, we really need new phones.
T-Mobile will cover the cost of 4 amazing new iPhone 15s, and each line is only $25 a month.
New iPhone 15s? Best new year ever.
Get 4 iPhone 15s on us with eligible trade-in when you switch to T-Mobile.
Minimum of 4 lines for $25 per line per month with autopay discount using debit or bank account. $5 more per line without autopay, plus taxes and fees. Phone fee at 24 monthly bill credits for well-qualified customers. Contact us before canceling account to continue bill credits or credit stop and balance on required finance agreement due. $35 per line connection charge applies. See T-Mobile.com.
Hey, hon, we really need new phones.
T-Mobile will cover the cost of 4 amazing new iPhone 15s, and each line is only $25 a month.
New iPhone 15s? Best new year ever.
Get 4 iPhone 15s on us with eligible trade-in when you switch to T-Mobile.
Minimum of 4 lines for $25 per line per month with autopay discount using debit or bank account. $5 more per line without autopay, plus taxes and fees. Phone fee at 24 monthly bill credits for well-qualified customers. Contact us before canceling account to continue bill credits or credit stop and balance on required finance agreement due. $35 per line connection charge applies. See T-Mobile.com.